Centennial, a town divided. Well, not quite exactly, but today we're talking about how different the two sides of Centennial can feel from one another. Hey everybody, it's Alyson Wahl with Live South Denver, your real estate strategist and realtor with the South Denver area. Centennial is such a great spot to look at, particularly if you are going to be a commuter into downtown Denver, a commuter into the Denver Tech Center. It is a fantastic spot when you're looking in the South Denver area but want to really cut down on commute time. If you spent any time looking at Centennial, you've already noticed on a map that it is very wide. It runs from the west side of I-25, running up against Littleton, over to the east side of I-25, edging up against Parker, edging up against Aurora, pushing all the way out toward Tower Road. I mean, it is a very, very wide area, and that has to do with its history. Centennial was formed nearly 25 years ago, and they just pulled together a bunch of unincorporated areas, said, let's catch them, we'll give them a name, we'll get some tax revenue out of them, and we're just going to kind of wrap our arms around them and create something out of it. So there's no real identity to Centennial. It has not been a long-standing town, and there's been development and a plan for each of the little areas. They've just kind of been caught up into something. And lots of these neighborhoods and parts of what are in Centennial now have been there for way longer than when they became Centennial. So if you're eyeing Centennial, and you're probably looking at other areas too, but if you're eyeing Centennial, let's dig into differences of each side and see which one might be a better fit for you. We're going to start with the west side. Now, feel-wise, the west side of Centennial, I would say, is way more aligned with feeling like Littleton, feeling like maybe even parts of Greenwood Village. Thanks to being served by the fantastic South Suburban Parks and Rec District, this area is densely populated with parks and trails and open space. Not only will you find very large pockets of open space and large parks with good trail systems, you will find the neighborhoods have very nice green belts in them and nice trail systems. And the mature trees that are over here give you some nice coverage. So a lot of times you are in the shade when you're out walking, which in summertime is nice. In the winter, you might be wishing for a little more sun, but we just try to go to the sunny side of the street half the time. Now, there is not a lot of terrain movement over here. It is pretty flat. So the odds of you getting a mountain view are slimmer, pretty slim, I would say almost slim to none, but never a blanket statement. There is always an opportunity to have a mountain view from somewhere. It's just about positioning, how the streets are sloping, where your house is, how you are relative to another neighbor, and of course, the surrounding coverage of trees. You've got Centennial neighborhoods on this west side like Homestead Farm, Homestead in the Willows, Willow Creek, Fox Ridge, Heritage Greens, Cherry Knolls. There are many more, and I've done videos on many of these neighborhoods, so you'll be able to see them popped up throughout this video. In the past 6 months, the highest price sale in here was $2.4 million. The lowest price sale was $460,000. This is just for single-family homes. I am taking out condos, townhomes, attached homes. We're talking just about single-family products. The median size of these homes was 2,800 square feet, and the average price on these was $793,000. Now, just in this range of time, just for 6 months of sales, size range of these houses was 1,200 square feet on the low end to over 6,000 square feet on the high end. If I had looked over a longer range of time, we would find some larger houses. We probably wouldn't find a lot that were smaller than 1,200 square feet. There occasionally are 900 or 1,000 square foot houses, but we would certainly find some larger ones. Looking back over a longer time of history, the median age of homes here is about 1975. Lot sizes run just shy of a quarter acre, about 0.23. And if garage space is what you're wanting, this is generally not the side of town for it. And it has to do with being an older home. Only about 10% of homes that sell over here have 3 or more garage spaces. That means we're talking generally a 2-car garage. And on the older homes, it's going to be a smaller 2-car garage. Now, that highest priced home in the last 6 months, the $2.4 million home, was a home in Centennial adjacent to Greenwood Village. A semi-custom home, big lot, nearly a quarter acre, move-in ready, a lot of style. It definitely fit in with kind of that Greenwood Village, old, rich look of a home. That home definitely wasn't even the most expensive that has sold in Centennial. There have been more over the last year. We're talking $2.8, almost $3 million. But from that price point, this 2.4, 2.6, 2.8, home prices slowly taper off over here on this west side. We don't have large jumps in price. We don't go from 2.4 down to 1.5 and then slowly taper off. So there is a broad spectrum of prices when you're over here on this west side of town in Centennial. There's a fair amount of school choice over here in Centennial on this west side. There is both some Cherry Creek and Littleton choice. So if you have your eye on a certain school, you really have to have that dialed in. You can have a curated search that has you focused in on different elementary schools or different high schools. About 29% of the homes on this west side feed directly into Cherry Creek High School, which is often considered one of the top high schools in the South Denver area. The remaining 70-ish% are feeding into a variety of Littleton public district schools. So there are about 3 different high schools there. So if you are not going to Cherry Creek, but you want a specific high school in Littleton, you're going to have to choose wisely where you want to be. When it comes to conveniences, access, amenities, shopping, dining, I think that this west side has a leg up on over on the east side. It feels a little more dense, a few more options, things are closer. For example, if you're on the southeast corner of the West Centennial kind of section, you are a stone's throw from the Park Meadows shopping area. And if you're on the very west edge, you've got the South Glen outdoor shopping area. You're close to Whole Foods, which is in that South Glen shopping area. You're right at Trader Joe's. Everybody is within 5 to 7 minutes of a Target as well. All right, let's move over to the east side of Centennial. And first, I want to show you this particular map. All these red dots are homes that have sold. So we just covered the west side. You can see kind of where the boundaries are, and now we're headed to the east side. One of the things you'll notice is probably just fewer homes, right? A little less activity, but you're also going to see this gap in the middle. There's a couple things going on there. A lot of that is commercial space, so not a ton of residential. And also some of that in between has an Inglewood address. So not everything between those two falls under a Centennial address. When you get over to this east side, I would say in general, it's going to feel a little less dense in the tree department. You're certainly not going to see quite as many miles of trails, not as much open space. And certainly when you find the parks, some are going to be very, very large, these big play fields, ball fields, lots of space, but not as many just large segments of open space like you're going to find on the other side of Centennial. Now, I'm making blanket statements. There are pockets where you are going to find, say, some really nice grasslands and some cattails and area to see wildlife. We have that dotted everywhere. But as a general rule, you're going to find the less open space, fewer trails, fewer opportunities to kind of get out on the east side than you are on the west side. It has to do with the fact that they are totally different parks and trails and rec districts on these two halves, again, because Centennial was formed later. And so they don't actually have just one parks and rec district overlooking this whole area. Feel-wise, this east side is going to align more with maybe Parker. Some of the more dense suburbs are going to feel like parts of Parker that are a little more dense. The open land areas are going to feel like more rural Parker. Parts of it are going to feel maybe more like South Aurora, which has a newer construction feel. South Aurora is the most newly developed part of Aurora. Some of the east side Centennial neighborhoods that you'll find over here include Chaparral, Shenango, Antelope, Estancia. All of these are acreage neighborhoods, and you are also most likely to catch a view from these. They are less dense with trees. You've got a lot of space from neighbors. So if you're wanting a view and some space, those are definitely some neighborhoods to check out. You'll also see Piney Creek. Piney Creek has many sub-neighborhoods, lots of different styles of homes. I have done videos on this one, so you may see some of those pop up throughout the video you can check out as well. Pineview, Greenfield, Fox Hill are also other really popular neighborhoods over here. In the past 6 months, the highest price sale is $2.5 million over here on this east side, and the lowest price sale $390,000. Again, we're just looking at single family homes. The median home size is 3,000 square feet, so definitely bigger than what we see on the west side, for an average home price of $677,000, which is less than the average home price on the west side of town. The home sizes out of recent sales have ranged from about 1,300 square feet to 8,500 square feet plus. There have been larger homes than that that have sold. When we look back over time, the median age of homes over here is 1993. The median lot size is 0.18, so a little bit smaller than we're seeing on the west side. That has to do with the homes being newer. But if you are a garage lover, a space lover of covered nooks, then this might be the space for you, because more than 1/3 of all homes sold have 3 or more garage spaces. Now, just like on the west side, the highest priced home sale was also the largest footprint home in this last 6 months. This one was the $2.5 million home. It was brand new construction. It was an acre lot. It was in estancia. This one backed to a main road. So some of these acreage neighborhoods back up to main roads. So these ones that back up when, you've got roadways behind you, you're going to get those at a lower price than some of the internal homes for sure. This one was a beautiful home, new construction, but a lot of white, a lot of bling. So it sat on the market a long time, and they certainly got it at a much lower price than it was originally listed at. But the thing about this, the reason I'm talking about these, is from that $2.5 million mark, we have a substantial drop to the next highest price home. We actually go down to 1.7. So unlike we're on the west side, we just trickle down. We go from maybe 2.8 if we go back a year, but for that, we were 2.4. We go 2.4, 2.3, 2.2, 2.1, 2. It just slowly trickles down on the west side. Here we go 2.5, 1.7. And from there, it slowly trickles down. There are plenty of homes that are $1.5 million on this east side of Centennial. There are not as many homes over that $2 million mark. Now, when it comes to schools, you have both a lot of choice and not a lot of choice when you're on this east side. Everybody feeds into the Cherry Creek School District over here on the east side. It's just you're not feeding into only one high school. Only 3% of homes over here feed into Cherry Creek High School specifically. And I say that just because a lot of people hear about it, read about it, find it on rankings, talk to friends, and they think that Cherry Creek High School is the end-all be-all. It is a good school. There are other schools that rank just as well. But when you look at the other high schools that this area is going to feed into, they are going to rank very differently. So if you have a specific school you want to feed into, you need to look at that before you're starting your home search. Retail access is good over here. It's just different. This area is a little more spread out. People are commuting farther to get to the retail. Most of the retail sits more toward the I-25 side of things. So if you're on the south side, I guess, southern end of the East Centennial quadrant that we're talking about, you're generally going to move toward the Arapahoe and Parker corridor for your retail. There's a Target there. There's movie theaters. There's all sorts of shops. You've got makeup shops and food and boots and clothes. I mean, really everything. So there's plenty of retail there at Arapahoe and Parker Road. And then when you need more specialty food, we already have Trader Joe's in Parker. We have a Costco in Parker. We're getting a Whole Foods in Parker. So you would come down just a little bit farther right to kind of the C470 area. Now, for the folks who live kind of in the northern half of that segment quadrant, they're going to go in a totally different direction and go up north. They're going to head toward the north corner, heading almost toward the tech center area. They have a Whole Foods that direction. There's shopping. There's King Soopers and Target all that way. But everybody who's far east, moving toward maybe the more open space or that falls that 470 on the east edge, they have some shopping that way, but the majority of their big shopping pulls them toward I-25. It's helpful to know that because when you're looking at prices and you're looking at why homes might be what they are cost-wise, some of that has to do with conveniences, amenities, location, how long your commute is. You're certainly, if you commute to downtown, going to generally have a longer commute on this east side. You are a little farther away from your main corridor roads. If you're going to have to use 470, you're probably paying a toll for a part of that. So convenience-wise, you might be a little lower on the convenience totem pole on this east side, but you're getting more for your money. So there's some trade-offs, checks and balances, if you will. All right, let's wrap it up. You are going to get more home for your money, like we just talked about on the east side. That's generally a truism everywhere in Denver. The farther you are from the mountains, the cheaper the home gets. People love the convenience factor and the views of being close to the west side. The homes on the east side are generally newer, generally larger, generally have more garage space. Your trade-offs are going to be the homes on the west side generally have a bit larger lot, going to be richer in tree coverage, trails, parks, retail density, overall amenities and conveniences. And when it comes to views, your opportunities for views are always house dependent, but your odds of having a view maybe out your back porch, a side window, maybe even your house if you have a little bit more space, probably higher on the east side than the west side, just because the west side is pretty flat. If you want to talk more about Centennial or other uber convenient suburbs so that you are having the shortest commute possible, please reach out. I would always love to connect. And I will see y'all next week.